Okay, guys, this is the part of the homework whereby I get you to firstly fill in the rest of the words I would have told you in class already. So we have 4 words: worry, confuse, interest, and excite. And so you have to fill in worried, worrying. These are both adjectives. Remember in the first page, I mentioned that the you can create an adjective for some verbs, adding an ed and adding an ing. Not for all verbs, but for some verbs that's possible, and that will make it an adjective. So worried and worrying, just like confused and confusing, interested, interesting, excited, exciting. And then I also want you to write the noun, which is worry, confusion, interest, and excitement. All right. So you have to understand the different word classes, and then I want you guys to create a sentence using these different words. Okay. So just take note: worry can be a verb and can also be a noun here. Confuse is a verb, but the noun is confusion. Interest is a verb and also a noun. Excite is a verb, but the noun version is excitement. All right. Okay. So remember that we want to understand. We don't want to test ourselves when you prepare for your IELTS exam. You don't just want to test yourself. You want to start to learn, and this is something I've emphasized throughout the class, which is you want to learn and not just test yourself. Learning means using a dictionary, doing a bit of research, correcting yourself, and not just testing yourself according to the time limit. Because of course in the exam you will not have so much time, and you will not have a dictionary beside you. You will not have the internet to do research, to look at Macmillan, to look at Osdick, etc. But you do have it right now, so you want to use it and spend as much time as possible learning new things, checking your mistakes, checking whether you're using these words correctly. So the first word I'm going to do is worry, right, as a verb. So we're going to use the dictionary so that I can show you how to use the dictionary to form a correct sentence. Okay, so go to Macmillan, I put worry. Okay, make sure it's the verb, and then you look at the different ways of using it. Okay, remember, this is, even though this is under the word class section, all right, what I'm going to show you here encompasses also the second part, which is collocations, the second mistake, which is collocations, and the third mistake, which is word patterns. And in the dictionary, it tells you a lot about collocations, it tells you a lot about the word patterns. So when you go to Macmillan, you see worry. Now, what can you use worry? How can you use worry? You can use worry, you can write worry about. Okay, so this is if you remember the under the word pattern section of the document, there are 3 kinds of main patterns for nouns, verbs, and adjectives. One is that plus clause, a noun, verb, adjective followed by that. It could be a noun, verb. Let me just go to that section here. Okay, so this is the collocations and this is the word pattern. So I mentioned here in page 10, I think, you have for nouns, verbs, and adjectives, you could have 3 very common patterns. So it could be followed by that plus clause, it could be followed by to plus base verb, it could be followed by a preposition plus a noun or verb ing. Okay, so as you can see, for this particular word worry, you see that it's followed by a preposition. But remember, not a word can have more than one pattern, in a sense, followed by more than one verb word patterns. This is followed by a preposition, this is followed by that. All right, so this is where it is. These are the patterns here, as I mentioned. Okay, about, worry about's a preposition, that is always with a clause after the that. Right, so these are 2 ways you can use the verb worry. Right, so I could write, let's say, I could write something like, I worry about, let's just make this a bit smaller. Okay, I make this bigger. I worry about his future. Maybe a mother saying I'm worried about my son's future. Okay, so it's using the preposition about. You can also say, I'm using the different patterns, I worry that. Okay, so I'm using the pattern using the preposition, and I'm using the pattern using the that. That is always followed by a clause, which is a subject and a verb. See, she worried that, and then you have your subject, and then you have your verb. Okay, modal verb plus base verb, right? So I'm worried that he may ruin his future. Okay, so these are two possible sentences using the verb worry. Right? Now, what is the difference between worry and worried? Okay, of course, worry here, in this way, we're using it as a verb. Worried is an adjective, and very often the word worried, don't forget it's an adjective. So if you want to write a sentence, you have to write I am, remember be, as I mentioned for an adjective, you normally put it, the position is normally either before a noun or after a linking verb, which is be. One linking verb is be. So you have to put am. You can't just say I worried. Okay? Alright? You have to say I am, be verb. I'm worried. Now, as you can see, let's go quickly to the adjective. Worried. And exactly, it uses exactly the same patterns in the sense that it could be followed by that, it could be followed by an about. So you could write exactly the same thing here. I am worried about his future. I am worried that he may ruin his future, or whatever it may be. Okay, but the patterns are pretty much the same. All right, it's not always the case, but here it is. So subject I, be verb, and the adjective. Okay, remember the difference between this. Okay, let's just talk about the difference between, what is the difference between these two? I worry about the future versus I'm worried about the future. Basically, it's almost the same, but there is a slight difference. The slight difference is that I worry is using your present simple tense as a verb, right? What is the present simple tense? This is something that regularly happens. Okay, so if a mother says I worry about his future, she is always worrying, not just now at this moment in point in time, but like almost regularly. Okay, it's always on her mind. Okay, that is the focus, the general difference. The focus of a present simple tense worry is regularly, this mother worries about the son's future. But here, I'm worried. The focus is generally on now. This is my experience. This is what's happening. This is how I'm feeling right now. Okay, so not a lot of difference. Okay, not a lot of difference. Now let's look at the difference between worried and worrying. And I mentioned to you before that the difference between an ing and an ed. Remember, you can take a verb, some verbs, not all verbs. Put an ing becomes an adjective, or put an ed becomes an adjective also. But there are differences. The ed is how you feel. The ing is what makes you feel this way. Okay, what causes you to feel this way. So I'm worried. I mean, the ed is always with the I, the person. Okay, but what worrying, you're going to describe what causes this person to feel this way. Okay, so you could say you could say his situation is worrying. Okay, that's why I'm worried about his future. Now this is using this adjective behind be verb. Okay, remember, an adjective can also be before the noun. So you could say this is a worrying situation. So this is describing this, this is describing this. Okay, same for this. I mean, you could use if you want to use this adjective before a noun, his worried parents called the police, or something like that. So this is before, adjective before a noun. Remember, this is what I'm talking about here. Before a noun or after a linking verb, be. Okay, so these are the three words here. The last is worry as a noun. So remember, this is a noun, this is not a verb. Now, this is what I want you to take note of. When you have a noun, remember, as I taught you in collocations, okay, the second mistake, remember we went through pressure, and then you want to get the correct verb. The number one most common collocation mistakes when you have a noun, and then students fail to get the correct verb. So here you have a noun, worry. You may want to know what kind of verb. Remember, this is not a verb. This is a noun. So if student says, "Oh, he worry," or "they worry," or whatever it may be, no, you are using this as a verb already. This is not a noun. So very often in a clause, an English sentence, you have a subject, which is always a noun. You have a verb, which is a verb, and you could have an object, which is also always a noun. May not have an object depending on the verb, whether it's transitive. Remember, transitive, you have an object. Intransitive verbs, you do not have objects. So the noun could be here, the noun could be here. Very often the noun is here, and if the noun is here, you really need to know what verb to put. And that's when collocations, the importance of collocations come into view, because you need to know what verb would go with this noun. Okay, let's go to worry here as a noun. Okay, and sometimes this is Macmillan Dictionary, a normal dictionary. This is not Austic. Later we'll go to Austic. But sometimes they, just going through this normal dictionary, it kind of tells you what kind of, how you can use it, and maybe they'll also give you some clues about verbs that can, go together with, that can come before this noun worry. So even in this sentence, local residents have expressed. So they're using the word express, the verb express, and using present perfect simple tense. But this is the noun here. So you can see express is something that you could use. It's a collocation. Okay, if they use it as example sentence, it's definitely something you can use. Okay, you can use the word expressed. Okay, but if you want to see more collocations, you can go to worry as a noun, and you see you have express here. You can have, be beset by, all these are possible. Okay, and so this is how you understand the role of collocations. You see here that if you're going to use worry as a noun, and if it's going to be like that, worry comes here, then you need to know the verb, and you can go to a collocations dictionary. What else does this dictionary tells you? It tells you about how to use it. Remember, I told you that when you want to, I go to Austic for finding most of the time for finding these 4 collocations, but for this Macmillan, a normal dictionary normally does it quite well. And as you can see, they already tell you the preposition worry about. All right, so worry about is possible, using the preposition after that. The collocation before could be express, so express worry about. So in the sentence, it could be, we could write, okay, my mother expressed, past simple tense, worries. Now probably you're going to put the S. Worry is countable, and normally in general, so you're just going to put S. Express worries about his late nights. Okay, he spends a lot of time late outside and doesn't come home early. So his mother, subject, express. You see, this is the verb, and this is the noun. Okay, so you have a good collocation here. This is how to use the noun worry. If you're using it in the object position, make sure you find the right verb collocation. Now, there are other ways of use of also writing this sentence, worry, as a noun. To be beset by, okay, like to be troubled by, to encounter a lot of worries, okay. So these are all very natural collocations, okay. You will see this often used. Cause somebody to worry, add to someone's worries, all right, eased his worries. Okay, so let's use be beset by, she was, be is was in the past simple tense, beset by worries. Okay, so this is another way to use it. A bit more complicated, but these, I've just shown you the process of how you use a dictionary like Macmillan and Osdick to come up with sentences. You have to understand first which word class these words are, and understand how exactly, where exactly they go in the sentence. All right, and use Macmillan, use Osdick. Find the collocations, find the word patterns. Remember, collocations is the second mistake. Word patterns is the third mistake. So you have to get your collocations correct, especially when you have a noun, get the correct verb. And your word patterns, these are the word patterns I showed you. Okay, preposition, about, that plus clause, preposition about, that plus clause. All right, this is also after the noun worry, you have a preposition here. All right, and then I told you the difference between worry and worried. This is more in general, always, something that regularly happens. This is more like, focusing on a noun. I told you the difference between worried, D-E-D, and worrying. This is how a person feels. This is what causes a person to feel this way. And I mentioned that adjectives could come before a noun, like that, before noun, or it could come after a be verb. Okay? I want to point out something related to worry, something I didn't mention. The way I used worried was I worry about his future, okay? I, being the subject who does the worrying, okay? Worry, and then this is what I'm worried about, okay? So this is the thing, this is the person, all right? Now, let's have a look at Macmillan Dictionary. Let's have a look at worry. There are actually two ways of using it. Well, more than two ways, but I want to focus on two ways here. This is the way I've been using it. I worry about something, okay? To feel nervous or upset because you keep thinking about a problem that you have or could have in the future, okay? Now, there is another way of using it, which is to make... Now, remember, we also talked about transitive and intransitive under word pattern. So verbs can be transitive or intransitive. When you are using worry in this way, for example, what I used, I worry about. Now, there is no object because we have a preposition, right? So this is used as an intransitive way, okay? But here we're using it as a transitive way, and it has a slightly different meaning. Remember, I just said the way we're using it is I is a person, and then you have the future as the thing, right, that you're worried about. But the other way of using it is to make someone feel nervous or upset. Now, so the way it's used is something worries someone, okay? Something worries someone. You see, let me show you how to use it in this second way. His future worries me. Do you see the difference? His future is here. Whereas in this second way, this second usage, okay, which is this one, okay, the I is here. Whereas this is actually used as a transitive verb. because you have an object. This is the it becomes a me here. Okay, so something, the thing that worries you, something worries somebody. This is the second way of using it. All right, and this way is the first way as shown in the dictionary. I comes here, and this is intransitive because there's no object you're worried about. You don't have a noun and object directly after the verb worry. All right, and then his future is here, not here. Okay, so there are two ways. It can be a bit confusing, but the dictionary shows you two ways of using this word worry. Now, as for confuse, interest, and excite, all right, for the verb, it's going to be using this method, which means something confuses someone, something interests someone, something excites someone, which is basically what I showed here. Okay, something, verb, somebody. Okay, it just so happens that worry, there are two ways of using it. This way is different from this way, but for confuse, interest, and excite, as you will see, it is this way. Okay, something worries, confuses, interest, excites someone. Okay, so let's go to confuse. Right, so you can using this pattern here, you could say something like, this lesson confuses me. Okay, you can't say I confused about this lesson. No, you would say you will use confused as an adjective. I am confused about or by this lesson. Okay, you could use I'm confused about this lesson, or I'm confused by this lesson. Both are possible. All right, so let's just go to confuse. All right, so that's the way you use it to make someone feel they do not understand. So this is the way something confuses someone. All right, this lesson confuses me. If you're using it as an adjective, remember the ed is how a person feels. I'm confused about, or I'm confused by this lesson. All right, and I'll just show you, this is an adjective after a be verb. Let me just show you an adjective before a noun. This confused person did not like the lesson. So this is an adjective before a noun. Let's go to confusing. Confusing is going to be describing the something that makes the person confused, right? So it's going to be this lesson is confusing. It's describing the thing that makes you feel confused. Or this is a confusing lesson. Okay, this will be the adjective before the noun. This will be the adjective after the be verb. Okay, and lastly, you will also look at noun confusion. Remember, sometimes you may not know what kind of verb goes before noun. If you want to use, let me just explain that again. Subject, verb, object, which is going to be a noun here, or your noun can come here, right? So if you want confusion here, then you will need to know a collocation verb, because it's not so easy. Okay, you can't just choose any verb. You need to really have a collocation that comes together. But if you put confusion here, then you don't really need to think of the verb that goes, well, you could, okay, but for normally when you have confusion here as the object, it is more important to get the verb collocation correct. Okay, let me just show you both ways. Okay, confusion first as an object, then you need to find a verb collocation, and confusion as a subject. Okay, so first let's go to Macmillan Dictionary. Confusion, we're going to use this as an object. All right, so it will show me some okay, it shows me some collocations here. You can use about or over, right? Okay, preposition, and there seems to be, so this is actually using the there is, okay, there be, so and about over. So you could write there is confusion over the, okay, put over about the accident, right? So you use the collocation, the preposition collocation, and basically the be verb. And there's a special be verb is there is. Now let me show you other kinds of verb collocations that can come before confusion. Go to OSDIC, go to confusion, and you will see some of these verbs here. Okay, caused confusion, created, led to confusion, resulted in confusion. So you could say something like, this accident resulted in confusion. Okay, you see, this is the verb. All right. So these are two ways of using this kind of like in an object position. Okay, after the be verb, after result in. Let's use confusion as a subject. So confusion will be subject. Confusion. Now, even if you go to the OSDIC dictionary, it gives you some collocations. Confusion plus verb. So what kind of verb can you use? Confusion reigned, confusion arose. It's in the past simple tense. Confusion surrounded something. So as you can, if every time you go to OSDIC, when you use this, it's very natural. Okay, even as I read this, I know, okay, it sounds very natural because it's something that you would hear. Confusion reigned in something. Confusion arose. Confusion surrounded something. Okay, so you can say confusion surrounded the election of John. Say a political election. All right, so this is how you use confusion as a subject. This is how you use confusion as more of an object after the be verb or after result in. Okay, this is confuse. Something confuses someone. As I said, this so-called way of using it is going to be the same way you use interest something, interest someone. It's going to be the same way you use excite something, excite someone. It's going to be the same way you use the second method of using worry. His future worries me. But this, okay, do not get confused by this. This is something that you can't use this pattern for confuse as a verb. You can't use this pattern for interest as a verb. You can't use this pattern for excite as a verb. This is a different way of using it. Okay, so it can be a bit confusing. Okay, this can be a bit confusing. Right, this lesson can be confusing. But this is the pattern for basically the next two words. All right, let's go to interest now. As I mentioned before, it's going to be the same way you use the way you use interest, and excite is going to be the same way you use confuse. Okay, so a verb, again, this movie interests me. All right, something interests someone, which, as I mentioned before, is this kind of pattern. Okay, interested. I am interested in this movie. Now, as we go to, let's just go to interest as a verb first. We've used it as a verb. So to make someone, okay, so oceanography has always interested me. Okay, it's just using the present perfect has interested, which you can say oceanography interests me. Okay, in the present simple tense. Interest someone in something we hope. Now this is another way of using it. Okay, it's not so common. Okay, again, there are many ways of using words. Okay, but I'm not going to give a sentence for every single way. Okay, you can just look at the sentence example sentence here. But when we go to interested, this is an adjective. Okay, remember one thing you need to know, as we've tried, we found out here, is you always need to know some kind of word patterns. Where there's the word patterns that follow it, the prepositions, the kind of prepositions that follow it, etc. Okay, this one is about, or you could use the word pattern that. Confused, you could use about, by. So interested is always going to be interested in. Okay, or you could use the preposition. Remember, we're talking about word patterns here, and in word patterns, I pointed this out to you before. On page 10, you have these patterns. So for worry, just now you had worry about, you had worry that. Okay, guys, I'm repeating certain things because I want you to, repetition is always good, and I want you to learn this and to really drill it into you. Okay, so these patterns are important. Okay, so just now we had worry about, which is a preposition, worry that. All right, and here for interested, worried in, this is a preposition. Sometimes you can use to plus base also. We're interested to hear, interested to know. Okay, so to plus base verb. This is another pattern, but we're going to use the most common pattern, which is interested in. Okay, so you have to use interested in. I'm interested in the movie. So this is after the be verb. How do you use interested as an adjective before the noun? The interested person came forward. The interested person entered the movie theater. The interested person put up his hand, whatever it may be. Okay. Interesting. Remember, something is interesting. What makes interesting is to describe what makes the person interested. Say the movie is interesting, or the interesting movie will be shown tonight. Using the passive structure, will be shown. Okay. And lastly, interest. Again, you can use interest, the noun here, as a subject or use it as an object. Let's go to Macmillan and see how they use interest as a noun, whether you can get some clues as to the verbs they use. See, they give you some collocations where you have, feel, and interest. And they tell you it's also going to be preposition in. Okay, so that's one way you can use it as an object. She showed interest in preposition plus a noun or verb ing in watching the movie. All right, so this is an object after. So if you go to Ostic, interest as a noun, the verb you see showed should be here. You can see she had interest, she expressed interest. All right, and yeah, you could say she expressed interest also in doing something. All right, so yeah, so that is okay. Yeah, the next thing I want to do is also use interest as a subject. Okay, I'm not sure whether there are collocations here. Okay, you see, so interest, this becomes subject and the verb is next. So her interest grew. Her interest in the boy grew, which means increased. All right, or waned. These are all past tense. Okay, wane means to go down. All right, so that is using this as a subject, this noun as a subject. This is using as an object. Okay. Lastly, we go to excite. Something excites me. School excites him. Right. Let's just go to Macmillan. See if we can make someone. Okay, this is the most common use. Okay. Yeah, that's basically the way we use it. Right. Excited. He is excited by school. The excited boy ran to school. Okay, so this is after the be verb. This is before. Remember, not all the time it could be after, not all the time it could be before. Like some words, like let me give you a word that you don't normally, I don't think you can use this word. Say not usually before noun. Okay, so this is a word that you usually put it after the be verb, but is not usually used before a noun. Right? Next, school is exciting. The exciting Fair meaning like where you go to have fun. Exciting fair cost a lot of money. Maybe you have to enter. Cost here is this. You see, if you look at this sentence straight away, you know if this is a correct sentence that this would be in the past simple tense. Why? Because if it's in a present simple tense, it would have a s. Okay, so if I write it cost, and this is a correct sentence, I'm talking about in the past, right? And lastly, noun excitement. Let's go to Macmillan, see whether it gives you some collocations. Feeling a bit added to excitement. Okay, there was excitement. Now let's go to excitement here. Okay, verb. See, you have verb excitement, so this will be the object. Caused excitement. The movie caused excitement. Now, when you use excitement, okay, you could say caused excitement. What the preposition I'll use is among the people. Okay, this is used as an object, so you want to use it as a subject. Here, subject plus verb. So excitement built up, died down. Excitement about the event died down after the death of the main singer or something like that. Okay, so this is the subject and this is the verb collocation. All right, so I hope as I've gone through all these sentences, you kind of understand the importance of word class. You understand how to create a good correct sentence using the dictionary, taking into account word patterns, taking into account collocations, and using the dictionary, Macmillan Dictionary or other dictionaries, looking at the patterns there, looking at what is bold, understanding through the dictionary how to write, how to use this word. That's most important, is to use it correctly. Okay, so I just repeat again, is almost for all four of these words, the verb is always something worries, something verb me, worries, excites, confuse, interest. But for worry, there's a special use of this where you can use it this way. For others, you can't say I confused by the lesson. No, you can't say that. You have to say I am confused. You have to use the adjective. Okay, so this is this is something special. Okay, this use. And worried as an adjective normally is going to be after the be verb. Take note of the prepositions, the word patterns, the collocations, etc. Worrying, all right, and as an adjective, as I mentioned, you can always normally put it two places after the be verb and before a noun. So in both cases, I showed you how to do that. And worry is how you feel. Worrying is the thing that makes you feel this way. Okay. Same for all this: confused, confusing, interested, interesting, excited, exciting. And lastly, the noun, you can put it in two positions. Now, let's have a look at worry here, because here I use it as an object, right? I use it as in a sense, an object. Let's go to worry again. Can I use worry as is there some kind of collocation that is mentioned here? See, this is as an object, but there you go. If you want to put worry as a subject, what kind of verb? Disappeared, proved unfounded, disappeared. So worries, his worries. So you could write something like his worries about something disappeared after his sleep. Okay, so that is how you use the word as an object. You have to find the correct verb collocation. You use the word as a subject. You have to find the correct verb collocation which comes after the subject. All right, I hope this lesson has helped you. Make sure you go through it a few times, because there's a lot of good stuff I've mentioned. Okay, you're going to learn more as you go through the video 2 or 3 times. Okay?